Oh yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Here we are again, the Square of the Circle Music Channel. Guess who's back? Everyone remembers my good friend, Nick Phillips. Welcome back, Nick.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah. So, we're going to talk about music again tonight. I hope that's okay with everybody. That's what it's the only thing we really know about, right?
Right.
It's the only shit I
Care
know
about.
about. Yeah, well, I mean, there's plenty in the world, but really the most important stuff that fuels the fire, makes us feel the love, is everything musical. I had another task for Nick. I drummed up a task for my good friend. Tonight I want to talk about stuff that sometimes can make you feel a little bit guilty for liking it. So we're going to go over some guilty pleasures. I don't know, what did you think when I brought that up? Because I don't want it to be like too tongue-in-cheek, and I don't want it to I don't want to shame anyone for liking what they like.
I mean, I approached it like, honestly, there's some stuff that at various points in my life I've been embarrassed to like for various reasons, and so I looked at it through that lens of a guilty pleasure. And I mean, a lot of the stuff that I picked, a lot of it is just pop music, like popular music that a lot of people love, but for whatever reason I had some kind of attachment to it, to where I thought it wasn't cool at a certain time, or maybe it was corny that I liked it, but I loved it anyway. And so that's kind of part of how I did my list.
That's basically the same kind of like angle I took. And like I kind of said, like I don't ever want to shame anyone for liking what they like, but like some of the stuff that I picked, well, I guess maybe one or two selections that I picked sometimes can be kind of a little bit, some stuff to today's standards might be a little bit inappropriate. As far as like
I'm excited to see what that is.
Yeah, well, we all know what art forms. Things change, sensibilities and tastes, and beyond that, society
Sure.
changes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But more or less, I just wanted to kind of like just do something a little bit different as far as like bring out some stuff that wouldn't normally see the light of, well, it'll see the light of day, but just no fear. No fear.
Yeah.
That's where me and Nick come from. We come from no fear.
The no fear generation.
We don't give a shit. We maybe used to, like, way back in the day, be a little bit kind of like, I'm gonna hide this when Nick's around, but now I've always brought everything out to you that I've listened to. I've listened to some dorky shit.
And some of this stuff, at least one of them, I got from Aaron. One of these bands came from Aaron. Aaron's influence.
I'm interested to see what that's gonna be.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go first.
I'll go first.
All right, Nick's gonna go first, everybody.
So I guess it was last fall or something. I was like listening to this artist, and my girlfriend was in the other room, and I was listening to it on my phone, and I had it like kind of quiet. And then
was this intentional, or was it just, did it come up on
no,
playlist?
No, it was intentional, and I was intentionally listening to it quietly because I was a little embarrassed. And she comes in the room and she's like, "Are you listening to Lenny Kravitz?" So my first artist is.
Is it Lenny Kravitz?
It's Lenny Kravitz.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I was just thinking about him today.
So I don't know what it was, and these picks, I didn't delve like super into specific albums, just the artists themselves. So
I kind of did a mix.
Yeah, and I guess there might be an album or two on this, but for whatever reason, like last year, I was just like, man, Lenny Kravitz is really good. I remember like I was around some people a couple of years ago, and this one guy like started singing a Lenny Kravitz song just randomly, and I'm like, God, that song's pretty good, and then it just kind of stuck with me. And so yeah, last year I was like digging Lenny Kravitz. Flowers for Zoe was a great song.
That's kind of it's not a ballad, but that's kind of more.
Yeah, it's about his daughter Zoe Kravitz, who's like a famous actress now.
I'm sure I've heard it.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's off.
He only has maybe like 4 really big radio hits, really.
Yeah.
Are You Gonna Go My Way?
Yeah.
The American Woman.
Yeah. I'll Never See You Again, something like that. So anyway, yeah.
Sorry, that's.
And I'm really bad with with album names and song names, and so we're just sticking with artist names for this one. Lenny Kravitz. So there was, a lot of the stuff too was like stuff in the '90s where I was like, I was into punk music or like rock or like harder music. So it wasn't like cool to admit that you liked something like Lenny Kravitz or something mainstream like that. But now
That one that came out was what, probably 93? Are You Gonna Go My Way?
Yeah.
92, 93?
So now I'm
That shit
secretly.
was pretty smoking, dude.
Yeah. And now I'm secretly listening to Lenny Kravitz on my phone when my girlfriend's in the other room and getting called out on it.
I saw his ass in a fucking cologne commercial the other day, and I was just like,
I wonder
Lenny
what kind of,
Kravitz.
I wonder what kind of cologne it was.
That really popular French one. Saint something Long. Saint Laurent.
Blue de Chanel.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a Chanel. I don't know.
YSL.
I don't know, but
We can talk about colognes.
it was kind of. We could talk about cologne, I guess. I'll bust one out here.
Okay.
What do I have first? Okay. Typical. I shouldn't be ashamed because this shit's really super popular again these days, but this is a childhood piece of mastery that I love so dear.
Yeah.
Huey Lewis and the News. I mean, come on. You can't really get any better than sports. The one that gets me, of course, The Heart of Rock and Roll is killer.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one that's like track 2? Damn it, what is that song? Heart and Soul.
Yeah.
Heart and Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like chock full of hits. There's at least fucking four radio singles on this album. Reminds me all of my childhood.
Yeah.
All the association to the Back to the Future and all whatever.
Yeah, the Back to the Future song was great.
Well, that song's not even on this.
Yeah.
I don't think. No, yeah. Back in Time and whatever.
Yeah.
What was the other one? The something Love. The song about love. There was
A lot of this is going to be us trying to remember things.
Yeah,
right.
right.
What was that called?
It's hard. It's hard. But this album, dude. I mean, come on.
I
You
listened
loved
to
this album when you were a kid.
I listened to this album so many times because my dad was obsessed with this album.
Really?
So my dad played this all the time.
Really?
He loved Huey Lewis and the News. I heard sports.
Fuck, everybody
just,
did,
like,
dude.
so much.
Everybody did.
And it was like a nice early 80s, early's isn't a word. Early 80s, like, it was just rock. It didn't have like a...
It didn't fit a mold.
Right.
Well, I mean,
right.
it fit a mold because it was like, yeah, I know what you're saying. Dude.
Right. Because it wasn't like synth rock or,
It was the beginning of jock rock.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because it was still kind of yacht rock, like 70s yacht rock.
Sports.
Right, but I mean, it was jock rock because everyone was liking it. Everybody that was into everything, yuppies. This was kind of yuppie rock, Right. But being a kid in the 80s, this shit was bomb because it was extremely accessible, poppy, catchy. I love all the horns.
Cool.
He looks cool as hell. They all look cool as hell.
Tie.
And from this is a little piece of rock and roll history. I'm not sure if you know this, but their guitar player lives in Springfield.
Oh.
Our hometown. He's lived in Springfield, Oregon now, I think, for probably the last 25 years. He used to play the Mill Camp.
Wow.
Yeah, he used to play in like blues rock bands at the Mill Camp here in Springfield, Oregon. And so, funny little piece of rock history there. And I think he still wanders the streets.
Yeah.
So he's
Started
smoking a really great fucking guitar
I'm
player.
sure
I think
he
he's
is.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You should listen to some of these. So that's kind of, I shouldn't feel guilty because it's just a great fucking album.
Wow. I'll revisit it. I mean, I listened to that so many times as a kid.
Yeah, super good.
Okay, so this one, I think the last time I was on here, I did a lot of like British and European bands, and so this one's another British band. And when they first came out, I thought it was a little too, I just didn't like it. Their first couple of albums I wasn't super into, and then I heard this album called Suck It and See, I don't know if you can see the title, by the band Arctic Monkeys.
Oh,
So they were like, popular in the early mid 2000s with like
anything about them.
just kind of like British indie rock that was kind of, to me, I thought it was like kind of dorky. And then they put out a single from the title track from this album, actually, called "Suck It and See." That's really, it's really kind of like American rock and roll, like 50s, 60s. He got into crooning. Like once he started crooning and stopped kind of being like a British rocker guy and started to get into crooning, I really started to love the Arctic Monkeys. And I listened to this album so many times when I first got introduced to it. Like this whole summer in 2013, I would just listen to this album. I think this came out in 2011 or 2012, and so every album that they put out since then I've really really loved, because it's kind of like just like American rock and roll with some like crooning singing, and then the newest album is a little more I guess prog in concept, maybe not in music. It's about like a hotel in space. You might like it.
I like that shit.
I like it.
I like space.
Yeah, I like space. I like
I'll
rock
stay
and
in
roll.
hotels.
So, Suck It and See, this album has, the title track is amazing. Some of the lyrics are like a little bit, not that great. But there's a song on here called The Pile Driver Waltz that is it's in at least my top 10 favorite songs of all time, possibly top 5. I've probably listened to that song more than any other song, like in the last, since I got into this album, which was 8 years ago. So if you like rock, kind of like American rock, if you like crooning, this guy's a great crooner. I'm sure the older stuff is okay, like if I revisited it, but like this
is that what kind of gives you this sense of guilt, maybe a little bit? Is just kind of like because of the croony aspect of it?
I kind of always liked crooning. It was more like, I just felt like that kind of indie rock sound at the time was like a little bit corny. And the name's like, that's a really bad name.
That is.
It's like a really bad band name. So
that's probably, sometimes when you hear a band's name, you opt to just kind of like opt out immediately. That's kind of, I think, what happened to me.
Right.
And that was, I think, I've mentioned that period in rock history, how it was just kind of, in my opinion, just kind of just a blah period, just kind of a blasé type of, period in rock and roll. So there was just so much coming at us, the advent of the internet and downloadable music and content and stuff, and that was all brand new. So it was just all coming at us at light speed. And
I remember you mentioned that in one of your
it must have been
videos.
one of those bands that just like was coming at me light speed, and it's like, I can't handle this shit, man. We're not from that era. We're from the era of like finding something on the radio and like having those 3 or 4 hits that you wait up all night to hear on the radio to hit record, so you have those 3 favorite songs,
And so this is, I think it's their 3rd or 4th album. Like, it's pretty, it was pretty far into their career.
Yeah, they're prevalent. I've seen their name around a lot for decades, and it's like, man, I guess I better give them a shot.
So this one and the 2 after it, I really like and recommend.
Cool. Bring out some more guilty pleasures. Okay, here's one. I'll say I'm a little bit, not ashamed, but just kind of like, I don't know. Everyone thinks I'm a total numbnut for liking this guy. Talking about old Leon Redbone. We lost Leon Redbone a couple years back. He died about maybe 5 years ago.
I don't know why I smiled at that. I looked at the camera and smiled. That's gonna look weird.
Leon Redbone is notorious for a lot of just kind of like goofy, tongue-in-cheek, madcap, kind of just crazy Americana stylings.
Did he scat? Is he a scat guy?
He similar to scat. It wasn't straight up, because scat is kind of like a very obvious type of lyrical vocal artistry that people are doing. No, he was notorious for that kind of ragtime Americana. Talking like he's got some cotton in his jaws and and doing that kind of like old-timey, like I said, kind of like ragtime, jazzy piano. He played guitar. He played like steel string guitar, and wore a fedora and had a big mustache and always wore the big dark sunglasses. He's notorious for voicing that cartoon frog, the Michigan J Frog. Hello, my baby.
Oh, wow.
Hello, my honey.
Yeah.
That's him.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Leon Redbone, and he's done tons of caricatures as far as vocal things in like film and cartoons and just like all kinds of random shit. And he was prevalent in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Was when the bulk of his career was, especially the 70s. And so he was doing the old-timey jug band, jazz, ragtime stuff way before all these numbnuts on the streets of Eugene were like, it's popular again, get a washboard, let's do a jug band. Like, he was doing jug band shit 25, 30 years ago, when everyone was kind of like, this guy, he's just an eccentric, weirdo. So he did a lot of like classic standards stuff that kind of like was from like the aughts and the teens and 20s of America, in the early on jazz, swing jazz era and stuff like that. And just really super cool. So you can sense what I was kind of discussing as far as like there's some stuff in here, like I said, kind of tongue in cheek, kind of like borderline insensitive, borderline inappropriate according to today's standards.
Yep.
I speak specifically of one called what's it called? It's on here. Where is it? Well, Nobody's Sweetheart is that. Oh, there it is. The Sheik of Araby.
Sure. Right, yeah.
Have you ever heard that song, The Sheik of Araby?
No.
I mean, it's basically just a story kind of detailing and outlining basically a rape. Yeah, some kind of real, misogynistic,
right.
womanizing kind of stuff,
Right.
talking about the Sheik of Araby and just getting women coming in and out of his
Sure.
tent and just kind of like, and he does this whole like loose jawed thing where he's like, like motorboating, like it's all this stuff.
So,
It's wild, but dude, there was a time and a place, and he really was a master, a vocal master. He was a great guitar player, really amazing guitar player. Slide style. What's that called where they put the glass tube on? It's just
slide.
it's a slide.
Slide guitar.
He would use that a lot. I saw him. I got to see him
Okay.
at the Shed. My dad
Nice.
and I went and saw him in Eugene at the Shed, probably about in the year 2013. I would say 2012, 2012 probably. And he was amazing. Kind of a
Right.
performer. Literally walks out with his guitar and a glass of bourbon. Or like
old.
he
Old.
was old. He was, he died when he was in his
Oh,
80s.
sure. Okay.
So at this point he was like in his mid 70s. And he would walk out with his guitar and there'd be just a chair and a lamp on the stage and an empty glass. And a guy would come out and pour him a glass of bourbon, and he'd just chain smoke on stage and just sing all these songs and drink bourbon and tell jokes and shit. Really fucking great, really great. Leon Redbone. This album called Double Time. He has numerous other albums out there that you can get all throughout this 70s and 80s. One of them, of course, very famous, has the goddamn cartoon frog on it.
Gotcha.
Michigan J. Frog from the Looney Tunes cartoons. So, yeah. Rest his soul, Leon Redbone. Cool
Never heard
shit.
of him, but now I have.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
Timeless stuff. So once you hear his voice, you will immediately be like, "That's the guy. I know exactly who that is."
Right. Well, this next pick is also from the 90s. Some of these are pretty 90s centric, and I remember one of Aaron's videos that I watched. Which if you haven't seen them, like and subscribe. Watch all the old ones. And talking about how the music in the turn of the century was a bit garbage, right?
The turn of our century, the turn of the 21st century.
Yeah. Was like the Nickelbacks and all that stuff. And I remember listening to the radio and just being like, God, this music is like really horrible. Kind of on par with what Aaron was saying. And so there was this band when I was growing up that I remember seeing on MTV and hearing on the radio, and a couple of my friends liked them, and I was like, it's just corny, it's dumb to like. And then during the era when there was Nickelback and all this stuff in the 2000 time frame, this band called Bush would come on the radio, and I'd be like, you know what, Bush isn't that bad. And so since then, I've kind of had a soft spot for Bush. At the time, in the 90s, it was not, people, just considered them like a grunge ripoff, like this, British, like Nirvana, wannabe band. Well, that's how I viewed them anyway.
They were a straight up cashing in
Right.
total Nirvana ripoff.
Right. But as I've aged a little bit and appreciate the, I don't know, I just appreciate them. I think
You
it was...
hear things differently.
And hearing them compared to like the literal trash that was like on the radio at the time. And if somebody likes Nickelback, that's awesome, more power to you, that's great. For me, but hearing the comparison of like all these bands that were just like really, really bad, and then I would hear a Bush song and be like, this is kind of cool. And then in the last couple of years, I have a friend who is a Bush fan like back in the day, and we've talked about Bush, and we talk about Bush kind of rocks. We kind of like it. There's a song or two on.
You talking about Kyle?
No.
Kyle still really likes Bush.
Really?
He liked Bush.
Yeah.
I know he did in high school.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys go see him?
No, I
Or
think
see them?
him and somebody else did.
I know
was
he
I
went
was
and saw
I was
Bush.
anti-Bush back then.
Oh, yeah.
But now I'm like, it's cool. There's some good riffs, some good hooks. The second album has a good song. I'm glad that Aaron's
So this
like,
is the first one. This
this
was
is
from
the
the
first
90s, 16 Stone?
16 Stone. Yeah.
It was like 94.
Yeah, probably
Earlier.
94.
93, 94.
Yeah. So I mean, they definitely got cashed in because of Nirvana, but You know,
there's so many bands do.
I appreciate him now. I don't mind Bush. Gavin's dreamy, you know.
Gavin Rossdale.
Yeah.
Everyone was way up on Gavin Rossdale. I'll admit the Everything Zen song when it first came out, and was that their first hit? I think that was
Probably
their first hit.
Machine Head. I love Machine Head.
Yeah, Everything Zen, and then Machine Head.
And what was
and
the
then
soft one? The Glycerine?
Glycerin.
Where you can't really know what he's talking about. I thought he said Bad Mood Warrior. I have a friend that we were talking about the lyrics. He's like, what does he sing?
Any of this
And then we
they were
looked it up.
singing.
Yeah. I don't even know what I sing when I sing, so. Just
Good
mumble it out.
Good pick.
I'm glad it was embarrassing for
Good pick.
one of us.
Okay. This one is mildly embarrassing because, you know, everyone jumped on that train when that fantastic movie came out. But this one goes way back for me, and so it does for anyone, all of us that grew up in the '80s, you know, because we were hearing this on the radio when we were growing up, you know, when we were like really digging and getting into pop music and all the stuff that was on the radio. This was just all of, you know, everyone wants to rule the world, man. You know, great fucking song. This was on the radio every 20 minutes with every other Michael Jackson song as well. And then, of course, when Donnie Darko dropped, you know, 20 years ago, then it just kind of like rejuvenated it, and everyone's just like, it took off like a bat out of hell. With the Head Over Heels song, of course, and it's a magnificent song.
It's a great
It's
song.
a fucking amazing song. And so these guys have to be on kind of my, not ashamed to, you know, admit that I love them, but they're a fantastic fucking band. They're incredible songwriters. Vocally and what they're doing, the musicality and everything, they work so well together. They did Mad World, that song at the end of Donnie Darko too. It was on a different album. It was on the album they did right after this. I think.
Shout on that one?
This begins with Shout.
Shout is great.
First track on the album.
That song is great.
Yeah, Shout, Everyone Wants to Rule the World.
Yeah.
Head Over Heels, the song Broken as well. Listen to end off the album. Songs from the Big Chair, dude. You can't deny this album. This album's too fucking good for words. And it just is in that period and era where it's just kind of like forever until Donnie Darko was released and everyone went gaga over that film. You were kind of like ashamed to be like, I really fucking like Tears for Fears, man. They're fucking a really great band. My mother used to love these guys.
Yeah.
My mom was notorious for liking all genres and all types of things, and she was really, really into pop music in the '80s. She loved '80s pop music, and she had this record, and she would spin this and sing it like, everybody, you know. So this is definitely on my list of kind of.
Well, what's cool about them is like they sound sort of like just a synth pop band, but if you watch live videos from like that era, or you know when they were a band, a lot of it is live.
Sure.
Like one of the singers he plays bass. Like it's all.
They're all multi-instrumentalists.
Right. It's all like
they do it all.
You know, it's not like pre-programmed. Like they press a button and the electronic music plays, which is you know I love that. But like, but back in the '80s, like they were playing all the stuff.
Yeah, synthwave bands. They all had to learn how to do it. In the '70s, their formative stuff. Like they had to learn how to play all those fucking instruments. Then nothing was gifted to them. It wasn't until the '90s and today's where everyone's able to just make music in their basement just by pushing, literally just pushing a button. You have to have a little bit of know-how, and you got to know MIDI programming, you got to know all that kind of stuff. But you know, I mean, those folks are light years beyond me anyway too, because I don't understand any of that stuff. What's that called? The program that you use on the computer?
Ableton was one of them.
That's a new one I've never. What's the one that everyone's been Pro Tools? You know, I don't know anything about any of that shit. And if I did, if I would have followed along with everyone else, I would have been able to make my own basement album by now. But
you still can.
I can try.
Yeah. So this one kind of, since Aaron talked about stuff that he grew up with, this I associate with you and your family for some reason. I can't remember if we would listen to it or if it was just when we were adults we both kind of voiced an appreciation for it. But I picked ABBA. So this is just the best of ABBA, which is fine. I don't mind best of compilations. I think it's, you know, actually I lean towards best of compilations for some bands sometimes. I can't remember when it was. I remember hearing it as a kid, and I remember, you know, my dad really didn't like disco. He had some like disco sucks paraphernalia and stuff. So I was like a little ashamed to like, admit I like disco, or what it was, just like disco pop music or whatever. But the older I got, I just really grew an appreciation for ABBA at various points in my 20s. And I remember I went to this show in Portland, and we were getting some food before the show started in this like bar area, and there was a jukebox, and there was like this extremely, hipster is such a loose term that nobody can really use anymore. I don't know if it has any weight to it.
Especially being from Oregon.
Yeah, right. But so this was like 2007 or whatever, and we were in this bar, and this guy looked like an extreme Portland hipster. He had like a suit on and like long greasy hair and stuff, and I put on 2 songs on the jukebox, and he had like a really dour expression. And the first song I picked was an Oasis song, and he looked like he was happy. And then I picked an ABBA song and put it on, and he lit up. He was so excited to hear both of those songs. And so there's something about like ABBA that just like makes it, just like lifts people up, for me anyway. Like it makes me happy. They have like some really upbeat songs. Even like the like huge singles, there's like a song called Ring Ring that I was like really into for a little bit. Has like a crazy guitar line in it. So yeah, I still will really, really love and appreciate ABBA.
Fuck yeah, man. All 4 of them, incredible musicians. They're really absolute masters of pop music. Just
right.
Incredible. Yeah, that's a great one. You should never feel ashamed
Okay.
for being.
All right.
The parallel drawn would be, my folks were, my mother wasn't into ABBA or anything like that. We didn't listen to that in the house.
I wonder why. I associate
you know what it is?
with it.
Here it is. Here's that parallel. When we were in our 20s, I was dating Jennifer. And so I dated this woman that we were mutual friends with, and we actually, at the same time, you were dating her twin sister.
Okay.
So we were dating twins back in our early 20s,
right.
and Jennifer Blanton was enormously
Gotcha.
into ABBA, nonstop. And so we'd go out, to the bars and stuff, and she put that on the jukeboxes constantly. Yeah. We would go karaokeing. She was constantly karaokeing that stuff. And so that was just kind of like a huge part of.
That's why I associate it with
her. Yeah.
My brain I wasn't very kind to my brain during this year,
good.
so I don't remember it.
There's also like, because there was a musical made of it recently, the Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
That and
like
so
2009.
And that my sisters and my mother and everyone's involved in the musical theater. We're a musical theater family, so there's it's easy to draw all those sorts of parallels. Yeah. So yeah, great pick, man. Fucking ABBA's fantastic. Okay, diving off the deep end here.
Let's do it.
This is some incredibly seriously dorky shit that I talk about a lot on my channel. That music label that I love dearly, it's called Windham Hill. They put out a lot of soft jazz and a lot of ambient music and a lot of electronic and new age stuff. But this is one of their stalwart bands. They're called Shadowfax. Obviously named after the horse from the horse from Lord of the Rings. This band is just some monumentally super dorky shit.
Yeah.
It's really great. So their first album came in the 70s, so it was a prog album. Really beautiful, ornate artwork. It was like 1976. It's called Watercourse Way. And just had all those, hallmarks of just 70s prog. Like, really fucking great. Little bit of saxophone, but nothing more than that. Guitar, bass, lots of keyboards. Typical 70s prog band. And then they took a break for like 3 years, and they made a resurgence in 1979 on the Windham Hill label. Before that, they weren't on Windham Hill. They were on Passport, the Passport label, I believe. But came back on Windham Hill Records and just were like super, super dorks, man. Went all the way new jazz, all the way. So we're talking just like heavy synth, lots of light, feathery saxophone stuff. So they incorporate a lot of soprano saxophone, oboe, all that shit that I love, and lots of keys. And they also, it's more to do with kind of their songwriting style, because they're not just like a soft jazz, kind of light, aloof type of band. They really hammer, what's the word I'm looking for? Like world music sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they hit them all. You know,
Right.
there's a lot of Celtic and huge Celtic influence, and I love Celtic music, but also a lot of like East Asian influence. And so you get a lot of these like wood flutes of the East Asian world sounds coming, and they use a lot of that. Is it diatonic sound? The pentatonic. Sorry, a lot of the pentatonic sounds whilst using those type of wood flutes, so you get the East Asian type of feel,
Gotcha.
and they mix that in with like quirky jazz, where it's like, yeah, I don't know, this band's fucking dope. Like, super dork shit. I have all their albums.
Right.
I have like seven of their albums, and also because their albums are dirt cheap, and I've talked about this before. Like this type of stuff, they're $1 in the dollar bins. I love it. You get, you know, clean, you know, immaculate records. I have all their shit. Check out Shadowfax if any of you guys
If you
like
could,
the nerd stuff.
Yeah, I mean the name is just so. Any like real good nerd would know that that's Gandalf's horse. You know what I
I'm
mean?
saying like more than 9 out of 10, like 99 out of 100 people. You put this on, they will immediately be like, "What the fuck is this?
Right.
Turn this off!" Like it's that much of a niche kind of. I don't know. You have such great taste, and you're such an
Thank you.
appreciator
Wow.
of things that just are like, you know, really like, you know, important. And it's not the type of music that's just kind of, it's not meant to be cast aside. It's important music. You can tell that it was crafted
Right.
for 1979 for a bunch of, you
Right.
know, buttoned up, you know, super white dudes with, you know, long shoulder length perms.
Glasses,
you know, glasses and
mustache.
perms
Right.
and sick
Yeah.
mustaches, dude.
Yeah.
You know, like they knew what the fuck they were doing.
Well, I'm about to throw Aaron's compliment down the toilet of me appreciating good music.
No.
So,
Never.
I think there's a couple of reasons why this is a guilty pleasure for me and it's slightly embarrassing. I think in 2015 I was on some music message board and they were talking about an artist called Blade, B-L-D-E-E. And I don't mind. I actually really like kind of auto-tune, like, you know, glitchy, kind of like hip-hop stuff. For whatever reason, you know, I don't know, because I think it's good. But it scratches an itch for me where I appreciate, I guess, like over-the-top sounds. And to me, like, that is an over-the-top sound. So anyway, I see somebody say Blade is an auto-tune angel. So I look up Blade, and it's this really ridiculous Swedish, dorky, kind of like mumbly guy, and so this album is called Ever Since, which was his first LP, and since this, he's put out like an album or two, like every year. He's got a bunch of albums. The lyrics are just really kind of over the top, sad / corny / violent / talk about drugs, and part of the embarrassment why I like this so much, or why it's embarrassing for me, is because I think he was probably 20 when I first heard him, and I was 35. I'm about to be 41 next month, and I still listen to this music that's made for 20-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very contemporary, like, not like...
It's very obvious that it's made for a specific generation.
Right, yeah, it's definitely like I'm way too old to listen to this, but for whatever reason. And then I'm also like weirdly, he's actually become very popular, like not very popular, definitely he's gotten more like mainstream notoriety in the last year. And part of me is like, yeah, but I used to like him 6 years ago. Like I knew him before his first album came out. I'm like, I'm old. Why would I care if somebody's some 20-year-old is discovering this like, but it's, I love the music. It's like, you know, it incorporates synth pop, hip hop, like emo, a lot of like really kind of glitchy, over the top electronic music production. The songs are short. You know, each song is probably like 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes long, and it does something for me, and I don't know why, but Blade, B-L-A-D-E-E, I love it. I don't know if anybody watching this channel would appreciate it.
2 E's at the
Two
end of
E's. So, and it could be Blady. I don't know. He's
Blady.
Yeah, Blady. He's
Blady.
Swedish. I don't know what they're thinking, but
Cool.
anyway.
That's two Swedes. in ABBA.
Yeah. And my last list was a lot of Swedes.
Or are they
too.
Swedish or are they Swiss? They're Swedish.
I
ABBA. That's interesting. I like the way you put that too. It just scratches that itch. You don't know why.
Right. Yeah.
That's how I feel about Shadowfax, dude. All that shit on the Windham Hill. You know what I mean? That it just scratches some weird itch I have in me. And it's like, I'm not gonna feel guilty, damn it. You know? I like what I like. Okay, moving along here. Oh yes, the obligatory. I'm constantly bringing out the band. Yes. Everyone knows how much I love the band. Yes, it's constant. It's every single list now. They have a lot of albums, but even this one, this will go thus far that even Yes fans, the most hard-nosed Yes fans, fucking hate this album. Like, I don't know why, dude. It does exactly what the album prior to this, 90125, their super famous seminal 80s album, where they just, went into the stratosphere with it, Owner of a Lonely Heart, just that.
I didn't know that was a Yes song.
It's like the title track or the opening track to their, that's probably their, well, it is their biggest selling album of all time. And it took them 25, almost 30 years.
Jeez.
I mean, they went platinum with like one album before that. They were selling mega records in the early 70s, but then they just like everyone else did in the progressive rock world, they were dinosaurs, Right. Punk rock came around and new wave came around, and everyone forgot about progressive rock. So then they kind of just laid low. They were still making albums, but then all of a sudden, they got kind of a wunderkind, so to speak, kind of like a wonder boy in their band who was just who had a new bag full of tricks.
Right.
He was playing like kind of more 80s style hair metal riffage on his guitar. He befriended their bass player, and their famous lead singer John Anderson had kind of been out of the picture for a few years, and so they had the bass player Chris Squire and this new guy named Trevor Rabin, he was a South African, had kind of started this new kind of like love relationship and like writing and doing new demos, and that's where 90125 came from. Was just the brainchild of Chris Squire, their bass player, and this new guy Trevor Rabin, this really wonderful guitar player. He could sing pretty well. He was really good looking. He was young, fresh, curly hair. They needed something like that.
Right.
And they're like, well, Yes isn't Yes without our famous singer who has that high voice that everyone knows. So, hey, John, will you just come back and be on the album? So he did. And they got like their old keyboard player from like the early 70s, Tony Kaye, I think his name was. And anyway, so I could go into Yes history. Like their history is nuts, dude.
Right.
Anyway, they made that seminal album. It went into the fucking stratosphere. Owner of a Lonely Heart. There's like 3 other singles on that album. It went triple platinum in the first fucking 5 years. Dude. Nuts. Like sold billions. And so anyway, they're like, well, we gotta try to do that again. Like that was just amazing, And basically everyone kind of like checked out, and they allowed what most Yes fans will say is they kind of allowed Trevor Rabin to just kind of like take it and just kind of just take the reins and just do whatever, Trevor. So you can tell. I mean, the other guys are on the album. They're obviously playing the instruments, but no one really has a unique voice on the album. They don't have any of just. You can't tell what's going on. It just sounds like a really overproduced. It sounds like Trevor Rabin's band, basically. Right. But some of these hits, dude, like they got on the radio again. The Rhythm of Love song is extremely great. It's very, very popular. The other one, that's the one that pays homage to like Beach Boys style, really famous or really fantastic Beach Boy harmony and the falsetto, woo, that kind of stuff that the Beach Boys were famous for.
Right.
Shoot High, Aim Low was a radio hit. Love Will Find a Way was a radio hit. I mean, they did it. This album's fucking great, and it's amazing too because, like I said, Yes fans just totally poo-poo this album. 1985, I think, a couple of years after the 90125 album. Even later, 1987. So there was 4 years that transpired between their big hit and then this guy, Big Generator. So kind of a weird. That's kind of a long period to have. But I think this album's fan-fucking-tastic. I'm not really ashamed to say it.
The cover is very 80s.
It is hella 80s.
Yeah, I love
it's like, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
You gotta listen more Yes, dude.
Okay.
I've told you that over these years.
I know.
And they're a completely different band from the 70s to the 80s. I mean, their first 2 albums were in the 60s.
I usually say no when you say to listen. Sorry, it's a bad joke. Anyway.
Affirmative.
Get it? Yes. No.
Good stuff.
Anyway. Okay, we'll do another one. So this is another instance of me kind of secretly. I was sitting playing guitar in my living room, and my girlfriend looks over and she says, "Are you playing a Red Hot Chili Peppers song on guitar?"
No.
So Red Hot Chili Peppers. And the answer was yes. I was playing a Red Hot Chili Peppers song. I mean, Anthony Kiedis' singing is it's just bad. You know, his lyrics are like, I would say for the most part, not that great. But for whatever reason, they, especially this album, Californication, the one that came after it, I think, you know, I'm going to backtrack. I think he does have some really good lyrics. He's definitely had a pretty storied life, and I think like once John Frusciante came back in the band, and even on Blood Sugar Sex Magic, like, you know, they talked about their drug addiction, and then on Californication, and the one after it, Stadium Arcadium, I can't remember if that's the name, but then they talk about like their addiction and recovery, and that, you know, there's some stuff on there that I could relate to. John Frusciante is an insanely good guitar player. In my opinion, his vocal harmonies, he just adds so much to Anthony Kiedis's not that great singing, that it makes the vocals passable to me. And, you know, who am I to judge? Whatever. They're millionaires. Millions of people love them. They're a huge band. For whatever, you know, I was a little embarrassed, you know, to like them and say I like them. But this album, I mean, Scar Tissue on guitar, is an amazing guitar part for a song. The solo on that's really good. There's a song on Stadium, I think it's Stadium Arcadium, called Don't Forget Me. I love that song. Yeah, so Red Hot Chili Peppers, that's definitely,
Great pick.
Yeah.
They're one of the, okay, so I'm going to interject here.
Yeah. I want you to.
We loved them. When I first met you in 6th grade, everyone was
they
hot
were huge.
to fucking trot.
Yeah.
Blood Sugar Sex Magic, like, oh my god. Everyone loved it. Was something so fresh and crazy and new. I mean, little did we know that people had been making music and listening to stuff like that in California, like for like ever.
Right.
But to us in small town Oregon, that was crazy new. To me, Red Hot Chili Peppers, man, I fucking hate them so much. I think they're just absolute garbage. They're an absolute garbage band. But they're I will admit, they're one of those bands. Like, for some reason, they're one of those bands that are actually not greater than the sum of their parts. You know what I mean? Like, Fleet, really fucking ingenuitive, cool, outstanding bass player, artistic, you know, juggernaut. He's been in film, you know, he was in film in the 80s and stuff. Right. Wasn't he in that crazy punk rock film? What was it called? Dystopia or something like that? What was that? Some crazy, like, punk, you know, cult. It's a cult classic.
Oh no, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's a punk rock cult classic, you know. But he was in that, and he was in
Point Break. Him and Anthony Kiedis were in Point Break.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Oh wow, they've all done, because they're from, you know, Southern California, so that's how that goes. But you know, but you understand what I mean. Like, they're actually not greater than the sum of their parts, because like, individually they're all. John Frusciante is fucking amazing. Anthony Kiedis is a complete douche, but whatever. And even I think Chad Smith, is that his name as a drummer? Like, pretty alright. Guy can keep a beat. You know, he's a steady kind of 4 on the floor, kind of like funk drummer. If you want to call him a funk drummer, whatever. He's a great rock drummer. But then you put them all together, and it's just like, they're horrible when they're all together, and they just make it's garbage. It's absolute garbage. I'll never understand. The Allure is one of those bands I'll never understand The Allure. But, you know, good for all you folks who find little. There is a couple songs where I'm like, okay. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't know.
There's some they have some horrible.
They're all fucking terrible, but there's like little moments that I like catch myself singing along to certain songs, and like, I don't know, dude. There's For me, it's the one that was from the early '90s. I think it was right after the Blood, Sex, Sugar, Magic album.
With Dave Navarro.
I actually like the Dave Navarro album.
Okay.
It was on that
My
film.
Friends. There's a song called My Friends that's good.
It's the one from the Coneheads soundtrack. I've got a bad
Soul to Squeeze.
Soul to Squeeze.
I think John Frusciante's on it.
Is a good song. That's an actual good song until he starts like.
Yeah, it does.
Live it to the rhythm, live it on your show. I'll be coming back to see me, damn it, good. I'm like, I just want to vomit into my fucking hat, dude. Oh God. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, good.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah.
Good, fucking good one. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Is it my turn?
I think it's
All
your
right.
turn. Yeah.
More nerd shit that I'm kind of embarrassed to admit I really like. But if you're gonna like an album from these guys, it has to be this one. Leftoverature. Stupid play on words. Album name Leftoverature, by the band Kansas, 1976, I believe, 75, 76. I mean, Carry On My Wayward Son.
Yeah.
Opening track, pretty screaming fucking cool.
Yeah.
Dude, and it's these guys. They just epitomize that mid to late 70s. Hair rock, kind of everything was going into that hair rock, almost
Right.
metal kind of thing. Like all these dudes had just giant curly fros.
Right.
You know, their keyboard player was kind of ripping off Rick Wakeman. He had this weird like bowl cut, but then long in the back, and had a cape with like it was like a vampire cape, and he had all this like a weird pagan amulet on, and they just like, but oh my god, dude, they're songsmiths, dude. Carry On My Wayward Son. Miracles Out of Nowhere. Oh my god, dude. Miracles Out of Nowhere. Oh, I mean, more or less, like, beyond just, like, the musicality of it, I think the vocal performance is what sells me so much on these guys, because they weren't really doing anything crazy cool beyond just kind of Southern, because they were Southern-style rock,
Mm-hmm.
you know? They had fiddle, and it was kind of bluesy, but there was, you know, hella elements of super nerdy, goofy prog shit.
Right.
Very elaborate compositions. But the vocal performance, man, and what they were doing with their harmonies, the two guys, I think one guy that plays either bass and guitar sings, and then the guy that plays fiddle sings, I think. And the vocal stylings are just phenomenal, dude. Like, they're really great. The Cheyenne Anthem is amazing. All of their music is, you know, undertones of, you know, the injustice done to the Native American population. Every album encompasses something to do with those types of injustices that were going on for centuries. And last track, the magnum opus, which is, you know, just a fucking 15-part crazy. It's hard to outdo these guys when it comes to prog rock. And prog rock, like I said, accentuated with that like kind of blues southern style rock. No, you know, not many of those 70s groups really sounded much like these guys, you know. Take all that goofy, nerdy 70s prog and mix it with, you know, Leonard Skinner.
Right.
And it's like, it's pretty fucking ingenuitive and pretty cool, dude. This album, I mean, give me a break.
The album cover is incredible. I've never seen that.
Man.
Yeah. It's just some old scribe
Leftover
in the ruin.
Yeah, dude. It's like,
He's seen too much.
yeah, I've seen too much. Carry on, Merlin, son. Yeah, so that's one of my guilty pleasures.
All right, that's good. Okay, so we're gonna go with some more just radio pop. I think I first heard of this band. I heard a remix of them in 2011, and they're a band from Manchester. But most of the Manchester bands I like are cool and are like rock bands, or they're, you know, creative and unique. This is really, they're called Hertz, and it's two guys that look like male models, and it's just really over the top pop music, and you know, they aspire to be like Robbie Williams. Like, it's really, it's just really, it's really sappy. You know, the singer at the end of, you know, their set, they always play this one particular song, and he throws roses out into the audience. They're like huge in Russia. They're like, they had a small moment in, I would say England, you know, when they first came out, and then their second album just tanked. But they're really big for whatever reason. Russians really love them.
Are they big in America?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
They're like I don't know if they've ever toured America,
Oh, okay.
but they're like massive in Eastern Europe, and it's just like over the top, sappy, like songs called "Stay," "Blind,"
Yeah.
like just really over the top, like overproduced, really corny radio love songs. Definitely, they're like trying to be popular and be like a pop band, and I love them. I love not the whole album, but I love songs off the first album. There's a song called "Wonderful Life." That's the first song I heard. It was like a remix of "Wonderful Life." Then I like some songs on the second album. Just real ballady,
Sap.
corny. It's 100% sap.
Dripping.
So
Dripping.
I don't know.
Sap.
I don't know if anybody would like them, but check them out if you like pop music.
I'm glad that you shouted out to Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
Because he's got to be
Okay.
guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, I only know like those two short little
Sure.
things that he was known for, like in the late '90s.
Yeah.
And then he started like beating women or something. Or
No.
he had a sex scandal.
Did he? I don't know.
There was some
Yeah.
scandalous. I mean, he was an asshole.
Yeah.
He was known for
Yeah,
being
yeah.
an outright to everybody.
So do you
around him.
remember
He was an asshole.
Savage Garden from the '90s?
I didn't remember the name. I don't remember the music.
What is it? The "I Want to Stand with You on a Mountain." Truly, madly, deeply. They had the "Chicka Cherry Cola" song. That's really bad '90s. This is like a continuation of that.
Okay.
So this is like a 2011 continuation of Savage Garden, another horrible
Awesome.
pop band.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, dude, this is too good.
Yeah.
This is too good.
I'm glad I made Aaron cringe so many times. I like.
But now I'm thinking like, there's so much shit I wish I had, like that I don't have. That is, that those guilty pleasures in me. I gotta start buying more CDs. This is one I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but a lot of people will be. And I don't know. I shouldn't feel guilty about liking this stuff. This is right in the same vein as a lot of those ambient, new agey kind of bands that I love. This is, of course, the illustrious Kitaro.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Kitaro?
I've heard the name, maybe from you even.
Yeah. So imagine you go to see a show and you sit down and you pay your $50 and the lights go down and then all of a sudden smoke rises from the stage and all you hear is Japanese wood flute and like the lights come up and you just see this like long-haired Japanese man in a big robe and there's like taiko drums and gongs everywhere and he's just like synth to the ceiling going everywhere. And I mean that's what it is. It's just like an hour of just like awesome surrealistic new age Japanese new age. It's fucking awesome.
It's just one guy.
Yeah, I mean, he has a band that does tour with him and
Okay.
play backing instrumental stuff behind him, but he is, of course, he's the spotlight.
The light's on him.
The light is on the illustrious Kitaro. And, he's out there just, like, making love to his wood flute, and just, like, making all of, like, the samurai movements and stuff.
Okay.
And, like,
Yeah.
what's that called? The body movement that Asian cultures do, like Tai Chi, basically. Tai Chi with a flute. Yeah, pretty awesome shit. What more can I say about the illustrious Kitaro?
What era is it? Like,
80s.
Okay, 80s.
Yeah, this is all, he was just, like the Far East Asian Yanni.
Okay.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
Just like the super greasy, awesome, long,
Yeah.
flowing Japanese locks and just like, he had a goatee and his wood flute and just like mystique and smoke and, quick movements.
Yeah.
Just fucking
Exaggerated,
awesome. Dude,
yeah.
super awesome. Extremely theatric. Like, it's like
Yeah.
that era of like the late 80s into the 90s and like, people that would like, kill to go see Riverdance and shit. Guys like me.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The Far East Asian Riverdance
Okay.
or that type of thing.
Perfect.
It's fucking great, dude.
I'll check them out. That actually kind of sounds.
No, it's
sounds
amazing.
like, yeah.
And check out the art. I mean,
Yeah.
that epitomizes what his,
His aesthetic is.
his aesthetic exactly. Like, yeah, pretty fucking
Well, this next pick isn't necessarily an album or an artist, even, but I think it could go on. Aaron has the Tinkle Tunes every Sunday,
Yeah.
and this to me would fit in with that. So there's a video game that I've never played called Far Cry 5, and I cut out the art for it, the cover art. Whoever did the soundtrack was very, very heavily into ambient music. There's a lot of ambient guitar. There's a lot of like reverb, long reverb drones, and somebody took 4 of the pieces from the loading screen music and put them on YouTube in 10-minute loops. And I was reading on like some message board that like that whoever produced the music really liked this one type of effects pedal company or whatever, and so I like listened to it and I was like, man, this is actually really cool pieces of music. And so there's 4 songs, and they're all just like loading screen music songs, and they're just like 10-minute loops. And there was I still listen to it. Actually really helps me go to sleep. If I can't get to sleep, I super nerdy, I like ripped them off of YouTube and put them on an MP3, and now they're on my phone.
I listen to Zelda music.
Right,
3 hours of YouTube Zelda music.
Yeah, so I put this on. So Far Cry 5, if you go on YouTube, and maybe I'll send you the links, and I feel like I haven't told you, or maybe I sent you a link.
I don't think so.
But Far Cry 5 loading screen music,
Yeah.
and there's 4 pieces that are the main ones that they're really the guitar playing's really cool. I think there's only like kind of traditional guitar sounds on one of them. The other one has like more ambient guitar, minimal stuff. But it does feel a little dorky that
That's super dorky.
I ripped songs from YouTube from a video game loading screen.
That's awesome.
And I use it to go to sleep.
That's fun.
So I would listen to it at work, just to chill out.
That is exactly what this show is about.
Right.
You just hit the nail right on the head, man.
Yeah.
I can't outdo that. When I was 10, I had a tiny little boombox recorder, and I used to record the music from Mega Man 2 and listen to that. So I could play back the Mega Man music.
Those composers,
Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3 is
Yeah.
like some of the best fucking music ever.
And that's like people love that kind of stuff now.
Yeah.
Like, not
Hugely popular.
Right, not for just nostalgia reasons, so like some of the stuff for us. It's like
the musicianship is amazing.
Yeah.
The guitar playing,
Yeah.
people pull off. Pretty cool shit. Great pick, man. Yeah, send me that link.
Okay,
please,
for sure.
because that's right up my alley. Right up my alley. All right, everybody. Well, we're just going to take a quick break. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for visiting us. We're talking about guilty pleasures. Nick's outdoing me in every way, shape, and form here. No, I'm just kidding. These are all great picks. So thanks again for joining us, everyone. I'm just going to plug along here, bring out a very, very famous album that, dude, this album is legitimately the shit. He's legitimately the shit. He gets way too much shit. This album's a monster, dude. It's fucking fantastic. Yeah, No Jacket Required by Phil Collins.
Yeah.
It has some of his most, insanely awesome hits. Beginning the album with Susudio.
Yeah.
I mean,
Susudio's
give me a break.
Yeah.
Long way to go. One more night. I think everybody had their first middle school dance, slow dance, to that song,
Right.
Middle school, probably 1991.
Right.
What was her name? Jill something. That was mine.
Okay. Yeah.
We slow danced to One More Night.
You have a
Phil
good memory.
Collins. That was like the first. Well, I remember certain things that really mean a lot. But, that's what Phil Collins means to me. It has a lot of it was along in the same vein as what we were talking about. Huey Lewis in the News. Just like the nostalgia and where it takes you, and it takes you back to just like being a kid again. And that's what Phil Collins does for me. Besides the fact that multi-instrumentalist, incredible. People really, give him shit for being kind of a dork in his vocal stylings and stuff. But I think he's an incredible vocalist.
Yeah.
he, took over for Peter Gabriel in Genesis in 1976, and just like, you couldn't even fucking tell. I mean, you could tell the difference between their singing styles, but it's like the guy's playing monster drums and just singing these incredibly elaborate, well thought out, well drawn out vocal parts, and it's just like, how insanely fucking cool. And then he started just like writing all their songs,
Right.
and then Genesis kind of ceased to be after that, and then he started his own solo career, kept a few of the guys that he was working with, and just took over and created an insanely successful pop career for fucking 35 years.
Yeah.
He was writing film music in the 90s.
Right.
He was writing stuff for Disney films and shit. You know what I mean? Like, what a genius, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, me and a couple people were getting pizza 2-3 nights ago, and Genesis Invisible Touch came on the radio, and I was like,
Wow.
I loved this song as a kid. I had the tape. It had the hand on it.
Yeah.
Like, it had the iridescent hand. I was like green or whatever, and I was like, God, I loved Genesis.
A few of those 80s Genesis songs,
Yeah.
they're kind of hit and miss in my opinion,
Yeah,
but
sure.
everything after Duke, well, for me, everything after, and then there were three. That was 1979, the Genesis album, and then there were three. They kind of left the progressive sound behind and kind of went more into like Phil Collins, kind of like pop, pop sensible, pop influence and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, what was the one with Land of Confusion on it? It had all those like abstract. It wasn't Abacab, was it?
I think that was on Invisible Touch.
That was on Invisible Touch?
I feel like it was.
Yeah, it was either that one or it was the one that had all the little cubes and pieces. It was
Yeah.
like yellow.
That song was great.
Yeah, dude, they're all fucking great. But Phil Collins in his solo career, it's kind of untouchable, and I don't know, everyone makes fun of the fucking shit, but I think
He gets ragged on a lot, but
he's
I like him
a lot.
Yeah.
But he's great.
All right, this is my second to the last pick, and this is a band that, I mean, I didn't need to get introduced to because they were all over the radio and MTV, and they were massively popular, but I didn't appreciate them until actually a couple of years after Aaron was really into them. So this is a little band called Dave Matthews Band that, it's a lot of the same like 90s stuff where I was like, oh, this isn't cool, this isn't punk, this isn't heavy, this isn't dark. Mainly like they weren't like a dark band. Even though after, being older and like listening to some of the songs and listening to some of the lyrics, Dave Matthews is actually like a really dark guy, especially on his like solo stuff. Sure. And Aaron loved Dave Matthews Band, and it wasn't until I was about 18 or 19 that I lived with our friend who also really liked Dave Matthews Band, and he would like put him on the car on the way to work, and our buddy Zach, and he would like, Zach was really into Dave Matthews Band, and then I would like start to listen to them, and then 18, 19, I'm like, God, these guys are really good. Like the musicianship, the lyrics, the composition, and I still, find time to put on a song or two. I think like even like a couple of months ago, I sent Aaron like a live version of this song that we used to really like, the Stay or Leave. There was like a live version on a live album that came out, in the last couple of years, and I sent it to Aaron.
Oh, that was from his Some Devil album, right?
Yeah, that was from Some Devil, but Dave Matthews Band, he played it at a Dave Matthews Band
nice.
show.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I think it was like the first song that they played or something like that.
Yeah.
So, Dave Matthews Band, I mean, are they cool? It depends on who you ask. Is it a guilty pleasure for me? Yeah, but I think they're great.
Good for you. So funny. So funny. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. Man, the moment I saw these guys perform, I didn't buy a ticket. We were young. It was freshman year. We were in high school. It was 1994. They came to Eugene. And we have this amphitheater here in Eugene where you can there's a mill race that goes around the amphitheater, and you can either paddle a boat or climb a tree, and you can go on the other side of that amphitheater, or the mill race, and you can watch the show, and you can see some shit. The Grateful Dead used to play there all the time, all kinds of great bands. Well, Dave Matthews Band played there in 1994, and I hadn't really ever heard of them. I'd heard a guy in one of my percussion classes mention them and how sick their fucking drummer was, and we went and climbed a tree, and I got the behind the back view of the man Carter Beauford and what he was doing on the drums and how he played his drums, and just fucking shit changed it changed how my brain worked. That was my first initial introduction to these guys, and then I saw the the video they released on MTV. What would you say? And just the really clever clip art, stop animation, crazy shit they were doing on that video. And I was like, I saw those guys. Those guys are fucking nuts, you know? And it was it. That was it for me. I had a probably 6-year love, not a love-hate relationship, but definitely just a huge, a very hot flame with these guys. About 6 years, from 1994 till about 2000, I fell off. Not because they were, I mean, I was becoming uninterested, but it just kind of like, you know, they, in my opinion, they had done what they came to do. And I think when they came out with Busted Stuff, that was like, you know, that was a little bit later. It was 2002 or something like that.
I liked some songs on it.
I like Busted Stuff a lot, actually. When they released Busted Stuff, that kind of like reminded me, like, oh, these guys are really great, because the 2 previous albums to that I was not into. Every Day was okay.
That was the one with I Did It.
Yes.
And Space Between.
Yeah.
I like those songs.
Couple of songs that were pretty good. That was when they really kind of took their production into a new. Everything was a lot more shiny and kind of produced. That was the Steve Lillywhite album. That was when they got Steve Lillywhite involved. He's a very, very famous engineer and producer for albums, but he was involved in like some U2 stuff and some other things. But yeah, this one specifically, Under the Table and Dreaming, their first. Well, it wasn't their first album, but it was their first major release. Right. They had a release before this that was kind of a
These Two Things.
Yeah, Remember These Two Things.
Okay.
It was an independent release on Bomber Rags in like 1992, I believe. But this one was their first major release, RCA Records, I believe, 1994. I mean, just fucking hit after hit after hit. Like you said, some really dark moments, and everything is just poetic genius in my opinion. But the musicianship, there's still moments where I'm kind of like cringy moments. Sure. You know, it's that, but that's kind of why I like it. I liked from the moment. That's how I would explain to people. Well, why do you like that weird fucking shit? You know, it just, to me, it's just dripping with organic stylings that there's no. I can still, even to this day, barely describe what they sound like and what they are. You know what I mean? Because it's so fucking unique. They have this strange kind of like Southern / Cajun / jazz / punk, pop, funk, everything. It's just it's fucking everything, and it's like that's why I like it so much. That's what we were doing in the early '90s. Everything was so multifaceted and multi-genre, and just I could go off and off and off and on and on and on about every track and what it does and how much I love it, but like I said, just the instrumentations on it, his guitar playing style, pretty fantastic. Coming from the guitar man here, like this guy's an incredible guitar player, and he laid into me right when he found out, like, man, that guy's a fucking insane guitar player. And I was like,
But once I tried to learn how to play one of the songs, I'm like, wait a minute, this is not as.
And I'm glad I mentioned that, because this, I credit Dave Matthews with actually getting me to like pick up a guitar and want to learn how to play some guitar. And I don't know how to play. I don't profess to be any good, but you can teach yourself by learning his songs, because they're so percussive and they're so intricate and strange and unique that it forces you to really kind of like go outside the box. I feel that he's one of the better examples of out of the box.
And he sings too. That's what's another like kind of crazy part, is he's singing and playing these like insane. Yeah,
people will knock his vocals a little bit because they're unique and they're kind of goofy in a sense. He's got that kind of high pitch, kind of weird thing, you know, doing this weird throat thing, you know. But that's how he can get it out. And any way you can get it out, that's how you get it out. You know, some people scream. He does a lot of screaming, but you know, to play and to sing at the same time and what he's doing, it's just like super outside the box. He credits it because he learned how to play the drums first. That's how he learned how to play percussion, and then he just translated it all to what he was doing on the strings. So we can just go on forever about Dave Matthews. He's so great. And he is.
I thought
Dave Matthews is fucking great.
I thought we would have a crossover with that one.
I
wasn't sure. We didn't tell each other the list.
We never do. Yeah, dude, it's still kind of to that point where you kind of like don't really ever want to admit sometimes that you're into that you like Dave Matthews, and I don't listen to him anymore. I haven't really
Sure.
sat and listened to Dave Matthews for years and years. I bought Under the Table and Dreaming because it has so much of a novel value to me, and it's just like I still will put that on, really enjoy the hits, and every time I hear Ants Marching, that snare drum hit at the beginning of Ants Marching, I was it's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Well, my last one.
Is this it? Are we done?
This is my last one. I think he has one more after this. Possibly the most reviled, disliked band that I like, as far, in my friend group, when I mentioned that I like this band, I've had more of my friends go, I hate that band. I hate them. Not just dislike, hate. And we're talking about the one and only U2. I love,
wow.
I love U2.
Really? Who says they hate U2?
Jared told me he hated U2. I mean, a lot of
people. It makes sense. The guys that we hang out, the guys that we grew up with, because they were, go on.
Right. So I liked U2 ever since the first time that I heard them. And as I grew older, I just kept liking their stuff. I remember watching the one video in the early 90s, and for whatever reason, like that aesthetic of him being in the bar and like smoking a cigarette and like drinking like some whiskey or whatever, like that just looked, he had like greasy long black hair that was slicked back, and he was singing, and I was like, that's so cool. I love U2. The older I got, the more in bands that I played music in and I played guitar, the Edge's guitar sound has been way more influential to me than I could, when I listen back to, stuff that I've written, I'm like, God, that is very Edge influenced. And man, I even like some of their really crappy stuff. Like I liked, in 1998 they put out that The Sweetest Thing single, which like people said was bad. I like the song that they did for the Target commercial, Vertigo. Like I really like that song. So, and I've had numerous people tell me how much they hate U2. Basically, people say they hate Bono. I think people attach the band U2 to Bono's, whatever stuff that he did. Actually, he's, I don't know. People don't like philanthropy, I guess. I don't know. I'm like a Bono defender. He is, his
he's
personality.
He's like the Jeff Bezos of rock and roll.
Yeah, he's like he's got an over the top, vibe or whatever. But for me, I love U2. I still listen to them somewhat regularly, and I just think that they're a great band. And they're very creative. The guitar playing is very creative, very unique.
Monumental fucking band.
Love U2.
Great pick. I love U2 as well. It's not a love-hate relationship, but there was like a long time where I was just kind of like, I don't want to admit that I like U2.
Sure.
In the 90s, it was not cool to like U2.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Another one of our closest friends, Simon will say they're his favorite band of all time.
Yeah.
When we were very young children, I've known Simon for 35 years, and that was his thing. He was just like huge into U2. Joshua Tree is fucking fantastic. That was the one I was mentioning. Steve Lillywhite, I believe, was the engineer.
I thought
Brian Eno did. Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois, they were the producers, but it was engineered, I believe, by Steve Lillywhite. Yeah, there was a lot of people involved on that album, and it's it's so rich, dude. It's rich and thick. I mean, talk about the tastiest of their albums as far as sonically. What I mean? Like you can just take a bath in that fucking album, and it has some, some really monumental hits on it as well. That's probably my favorite of their albums. But even into the '90s, man, when we were like not supposed to be into those guys, I was still kind of like that Zooropa album. Zooropa. It's like that's when they came to Eugene. Remember?
So funny story. I had tickets. And a friend
Rage
of mine,
Against the Machine opened up for U2 in our hometown.
I had 4 seats for it.
Fuck.
And I went with a friend who wanted to go see. This is why it was a guilty pleasure.
We were going to try to break in. We didn't have tickets. We were going to try to climb the fence and break in. Anyway.
So we watched Rage Against the Machine, and my friend was like, "Come on, let's go. I don't want to watch U2." And there was a part of me that died inside because I didn't want to admit that I really wanted to stay and watch U2. I was like, okay, we'll go. And now I was like 15 at the time. I like had, not a lot of spine. Now I would be like, no, I'm gonna watch you two alone. I don't care. But back then, I was too embarrassed to admit my left.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like,
regrets.
we were hunting for a place where we could like sneak past security and climb a building that was like next to the stadium, so that we could get on the top of the duck store and look over to see Rage Against the Machine play.
And they were great. They were really good.
There was people literally just fucking climbing the fence and running up the stadium side hills,
Right.
dude. We were just like, should we do that? Like,
Yeah, when you're 15, you're like,
I don't know, man. Yeah, that was like, that was 95.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. Great pick, man. Great pick.
It's my last
Which
pick.
one is that? Is that Octum Baby?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean,
All of them.
I like the Target song.
The
Who cares?
fucking Target song.
The Target Vertigo.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's not that.
It's a
I
Target
like
song.
it. Yeah, I don't think they wrote it for Target.
That was
but
like the whole Zooropa album, wasn't it? Wasn't it basically a big like selling point?
sure
for
so
something.
that was their aesthetic, was they were going to do the Pop
Mart tour. Yeah.
right? But the Vertigo song was like 2005 or something like that.
Hmm.
And
Crazy.
Target used it for a commercial. I still liked it. Yeah.
Okay. Bringing things to a close. I don't even remember what I fucking picked, man. Oh yeah. Duh. Oh my
That's actually
God.
a great pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to say this for last because,
Yeah.
God, we get so much shit. Everybody gets so much shit. And Metallica, what a bunch of douchebags, dude. The
Yeah.
Black Album, but can you think of any other album from our childhood breaking through into that era when we were like just discovering the power of rock and roll?
Right.
And you're just like, dude, this album. I mean, Enter Sandman, it's kind of a douchey song,
Sure.
but even still, it's so fucking good. And when you're 13 years old, 12 or 13 years old, and you're just learning yourself and you're getting all like masculine and kind of getting all full of testosterone, you're just like, jump, 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 boom, ga, dum, dum, do, 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 do,
Yeah.
do. Fucking Sad But True.
Sad But True.
Seminal
So
fucking
yeah.
song. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That shit fucking changed my life. That triple it. Oh my God. That shit is fucking heavy as a motherfucker, dude. These
Yeah.
guys still douchebags, but
Yeah.
I mean, this album you can't undersell this album, with so many people fucking hate this album. Mostly metalheads.
Yeah.
But when you're in that era and you're immersed in it and you're growing up and you're just like, we were too young to be those staunch early thrash metal
Right,
guys where
right.
it's like, it's not fucking thrash, so fuck that,
Right.
But then kids forgot about them because everything after this, in my opinion, is complete garbage,
Yeah.
dude. Absolute fucking garbage.
Don't Tread on Me, is that a song on there?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
final track.
Okay, that song was really good.
Yeah, that's the whole, like you say, the
Yeah,
aesthetic
the
basically of
aesthetic,
the album, because it's got he was, I don't know, I think he had family members that were Marines or something like that, obviously, because it's heavy throughout all of Metallica's albums with
Right.
that theme, like the Master of Puppets has that whole
Right.
theme and everything, probably some family members died in Vietnam,
Sure.
unfortunately, but yeah, dude, it just hit after hit after hit. I remember hearing The Unforgiven for the first
Yeah.
time, that crazy awesome ballad, and then it goes into the heavy metal shit and the story being told.
I kind of
what
want to listen to it now.
Yeah,
actually.
right? Dude, it's so fucking... I have a copy on CD that I play in my car all the
Yeah.
time, because it's just like, you can't deny
Yeah.
this album. Wherever I may roam.
Yeah.
Storytellers, dude.
Yeah.
Metal storytellers. And so, all those haters, dude, it's like, come on, man.
And people are still hating on it. There was this like meme I saw on the internet that was like, most metal bands, Satan is my unholy master, and then they're like, Metallica, time for bed. They're like talking about, how corny Enter Sandman is.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
but
Enter
it's
Sandman is corny,
whatever.
but, but that's it's okay. It's
That
okay.
riff has been played hundreds of millions of times in every Guitar Center around the world.
Sure.
Like, there's no,
Sure.
that riff is undeniable.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because sorry, not Unforgiven. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
I could play that song from my mother.
Right,
You know what
sure,
I mean?
right.
And my mother loved that fucking song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That and I credit that. That's the first song I ever learned how to play on the guitar.
Sweet.
It was like E minor. I think it's just an E minor chord. Dun, 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 dun. It's an open E minor. I mean, it changes somewhere in there, but like I remember being 14 years old, and I was like, I figured this out. I only know one note,
Right.
but I figured this out. You know, I could play that first part. Dun, dun, ba-da-dun, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-da-dun. And I didn't know where to go after that, but I figured out that one fucking part. I could play the first 4 bars of that. Nothing else matters. But yeah, this had to be on that list. I'm guilty as fuck, man. Guilty as charged.
I'm gonna listen to it on my way home.
Yeah,
for sure.
And for me, this was it. This is where it ended for Metallica. I couldn't do anything after this. It just got a little bit too jock rocky douchebag. This was the birth of jock rock for me.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, every idiot was just like, yeah, I like heavy music, you know, and it's like gave everyone a reason to like, you know, pick on you and punch you in the face. And it's just like this and Pantera. You know, it's just like fuck.
Yeah.
But whatever. Can't deny the Black Album.
It's good.
Too good. Nick, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was great. I appreciate you inviting me on your show.
Yeah, I mean it's okay to admit. It's okay to admit sometimes. It's okay to come out to people in certain ways and aspects.
You can admit that you like Red Hot Chili Peppers to your friends. You know, if you. Yeah.
I would entreat you all to check out all the nerdy, goofy shit that I outlined here, as well as Nick.
Yeah.
It's all fantastic stuff. There's a little bit for everyone in here. Was there anything else that you thought there was one that I wanted to bring up? I'm really surprised I didn't have any Morrissey pop up from you. You're not ashamed.
I'm not ashamed.
You're not ashamed of Morrissey.
You know, even though he's become very politically
and
problematic.
super popular. I mean,
yeah.
I have a lot of new kids talking to kids at the record store. They're super. I mean, there's always been a huge, I wouldn't say cult following, but a huge underground following of Morrissey fans and Smiths fans, and I get it. I've long time given you shit for.
I'm like, you know, I don't feel guilty about that. There was a lot of '90s stuff, like the Gin Blossoms.
Everything.
Like,
I wanted to bring out some Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah, Goo Goo Dolls. Like I feel like a lot
I
of.
don't have a Goo Goo Dolls out. I want the one. The Boy Named Goo album.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's like 2 songs from that they almost fucking make me cry.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it's that fucking good. And when anyone brings out a mandolin and rock and roll and like mixes up the mandolin and the rock and roll, it's like I start.
Dave really liked Goo Goo Dolls back in the day.
Yeah, our homie Dave.
Gin Blossoms though, that almost made it to my list.
Gin Blossoms.
But
Hey Jealousy.
Yeah, that song is so good.
Pretty good.
I didn't buy it because I was embarrassed to buy it.
I would.
In my 20s, I was like 23, and I was like, you know, the Gin Blossoms were really awesome growing up. I'm gonna buy the CD, and I couldn't bring myself to take it up to the counter, so I bought Danzig instead, which also is
gotta look tough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was gonna buy a new like pressing, like an anniversary pressing, 180 gram copy of that that Talk album that I love so much. The Color of Spring, I think it's called, or something like that.
Didn't they do It's My Life? Isn't that a Talk song?
Probably. It's not. I don't think it's on that album. But
yeah, it's. You mentioned Talk to me, and then I like heard It's My Life, and I was like, oh wait, this is that band Aaron was telling me about.
I just I kind of like compare them when we talk about Morrissey, because I feel that the singer in that band has the same kind of like caliber of voice. It's just that kind of like airy, almost completely out of tune all the time.
Right.
Like Anthony Kiedis, kind of same kind of thing. Like almost
not
kind of croony. Not in key, kind of croony.
Right.
Kind of has that thing going on. But as far as the guy from Talk, like it's just so unique. He sounds like the Cowardly Lion mixed with kind of Morrissey. Morrissey and the Cowardly Lion. It's fucking great. I almost brought that out. But that was one of those like you want to like take that up to the counter at the record store, but there's a cute girl working behind the counter.
Right.
Yeah, maybe I'll just like buy this Neurosis album instead.
Yeah, right. Like I'm getting this for my friend's birthday.
Yeah.
It's not for me. It's for somebody else.
Yeah, I did that with a John Denver album one time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for my mom.
Yeah.
My mom needed a copy of this. Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, really, dude. She needs a copy of this.
She needs, senses lit up.
Love you all. Thank you for joining us again tonight. Again, joined by my good friend Nick Phillips. Nick,
thank you for having me on.
Yes.
That was fun.
I'll have him back again like I always do. So
we'll come up with something else.
Yeah. you've been chatting with us here at Square the Circle Music Channel at the Springfield studio. So, signing off. Peace be with you. Yes, good work, Nick.